jot some notes a little bit.
Yep.
I might be taking one. So, you know, as I told him, we're going to record this obviously, but you'll probably see me jot some notes down here just for later reference. And again, you're getting introduced to a lot of people here, but again, my name is Charles.
Yes, sir.
I'm a lieutenant here with SLED. This is Katie McAllister, and I want to start out here and just tell you I am extremely sorry for what has happened to your mother and to your brother. Okay,
thank you.
And I know that it's not easy to sit here and talk to a stranger about this kind of stuff. It's my hope that we can do it, get this part behind us, and move on to trying to find out and try to make the situation as good as we can make it for a terrible situation we're dealing with this.
Yes, sir.
For that, I am gonna have to ask a lot of questions. You got your attorney here with you, and I'm sure he'll pipe up if ever he needs to. I expect him to. But for you, what I want you to understand is, I mean, your family is in some ways no different than mine, no different than Katie's. We have our good, we have our bad. What makes your family maybe a little bit different is that your family is very well known and other things associated with that. And because of that, people talk, people put rumors out there, people make things up if they don't have anything to talk about. But once these things kind of get out there, when we're doing a full investigation, we kind of need to do what we can to say we've asked those questions, we've addressed them, and we've dealt with them.
Yes, sir.
So all I ask out of you today, Buster, is and you don't mind me calling you Buster?
Absolutely, no, sir.
Is just try to be as honest and forthcoming as you can on all this, okay?
No problem.
Can I just start out? We'll start out with an easy one here. Can I get your full proper name?
Yeah, Richard Alexander Murdaugh, Jr.
Okay. And your date of birth, sir? And where are you currently living now?
It is.
Huh. It's a good phone number for you.
My cell phone.
Do you have any other cells, or is that?
No, sir. Only line I got.
Gotcha. Are you going to school now, or?
Not right now. I'm in a 6-month job for Wild Wing Cafe.
Okay.
So I do a lot of traveling throughout the week.
So you're working like for corporate?
Yes, sir.
Wild Wing Cafe. How long have you been living up in Columbia?
Been living in Columbia since 2018.
You got roommates at that apartment?
Do not.
You live by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you primarily work Wild Wings traveling corporate?
Yes, sir.
Any other jobs? Is that the only one?
Only one.
Okay. Are you up there all the time, or do you split time between there and here, or?
Split time between. Most recently, I've been splitting time between there and my girlfriend's house.
Okay.
Because the Wild Wing office is in Charlotte, so it's a 20-minute drive for me to get to work from her house.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Brooklyn White.
White?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is she of the White family up there? If you're familiar with the White House and all that,
no.
That was a big name up there. Okay. Where does Brooklyn live?
I don't know her house number. It's on a street.
Does she live by herself or with her family, or?
Her mom lives there, and she just recently moved out of a house there now, and is in the future moving to.
So, I'm sorry, Brooklyn moved out of, or her mother?
No, Brooklyn and her mother have been living at her mother's house, and Brooklyn just moved out of a house that she had with a couple of roommates in because she finished school.
I got you. Okay. Did y'all meet in school?
We did.
Okay. You know Brooklyn's phone number offhand?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay.
Probably should.
You know, I didn't know my wife's for the longest time because nowadays nobody remembers numbers. You used to have to remember numbers, obviously, so you go up to any phone, but now you just plug it in, you forget. I've never told her that. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about just the house out there on Moselle.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time that you stayed out there for any length of time?
Would have been.
If ever.
Would have been turkey season. Was out there during turkey season, so March, early April was when I was staying out there more often.
March, early April this year. When you stay out there at Moselle, where do you stay? Where do you lay your head at?
I stay in my room.
And that's in the main house?
It is.
And if I'm in the main house, how do I get to your room?
If you walk through the front door of the main house, there's a staircase to your left, and the staircase goes up onto a raised up banister, and there's a room to the right and a room to the left, and my room is the one to the right.
How about Paul's room? Is
the one to the left?
Is the one to the left? Is that the last time you've been up there, or that's just the last time you've been up there for any kind of longer stay? Have you been up there for
I've swung through multiple times. I've been having to grab things from Moselle, clothes and whatnot. I can't remember the last time I spent the night in Moselle. Usually when it gets hotter, I tend to fluctuate more to the beach more.
Right.
But turkey season would have been the last time that I've stayed, multiple nights in a row.
Okay. So, I mean, you may not be able to remember the exact date. Can you remember about when the last time you spent a night in Moselle was? Was it in the last month, last couple of weeks? I mean,
let's see, it's June now.
Yes, it's June 10th, actually.
I really can't remember. It's been a decent amount of time, weeks, maybe even a month.
And so, Buster, as you're getting back and forth from place to place here, you have a dedicated vehicle you get around in?
Yes, sir. I have a
What year is it? What color is it?
It's
You've had that vehicle since it was new? Or?
Yes, sir. Since it was new.
Is that the only vehicle you've had?
No, I also have.
That time, or?
Well, it's the one after I had a truck before I got that car. But,
okay, but since then, has that been your primary way of getting around?
Yes.
Any other ways or any other cars? Or?
Nope.
Okay, so I guess let's go ahead and kind of get at least close to the incident we're talking about here, obviously. And I may have to digress back and forth. I'm sorry, it's just the way my brain works.
No problem.
And we're just meeting for the first time, so something might occur to me. When was the last time that you recall speaking to your mother?
I spoke to my mom I spoke to her a couple times, like Monday afternoon, around probably the 4 to 5 hour range.
Okay.
And then probably a couple times. We speak usually 2-3 times a day.
And that was by phone?
Yes, sir. My cell phone.
So I guess, and backing up a little bit, here we go right off the bat here. Actually, let me back up just a little bit more than that. You talked about spending some time down at Edisto. Y'all have a house on Edisto?
Yes, sir.
And where is that located at? Man, that's the one down near, kind of near the marina, right?
Yeah. So
side road out there.
Is where our house is.
What was that number again? Okay. Have you stayed down in Edisto anytime recently?
Yes.
When was the last time you stayed there?
Was there Memorial Day weekend? Would be the last recent time.
Okay. Were you there? Talking about Memorial Day weekend, did you come down what day? Friday, Thursday? Or
Oh no, I was there. I was there probably Wednesday.
Okay, so are y'all burning up back there?
We're cool.
You good?
Yeah, we've got the vents open.
Let me get the. Well, it might help if I actually had the.
There you go. There there's the money shot.
So my back seat is usually so full of junk I don't have to worry about it. So, all right. So you were there probably Wednesday before then, and stayed until Memorial Day or past Memorial Day.
I stayed until Sunday. Left on Sunday, and went to Columbia.
Was Brooklyn there with you for all or part of the weekend?
She was not there for Memorial Day. No, sir.
Wasn't there? Okay. So who all was at the house during Memorial Day?
My mom, my dad, my brother, and staying with us were 3 of my brother's friends.
You remember who those people were?
I do. One boy was. Yes.
Okay.
The other person was. Yes, sir. And the other person was. I don't know.
Yes. Okay. Now, was everybody there pretty much the whole time, or did people come in and out, or?
We were there the whole time. Like my mom, my dad, and I were there, and obviously we had friends fluctuate in and out, come hang out, stuff like that.
Okay. And beach houses were like that. All right. Pretty good trip. Any problems, no issues went on
No, sir,
down
just
there? Just a
good weekend.
good weekend. Okay. And you stayed there periodically times before that. I think you alluded to that
Yes, sir.
you tend to go there more often than you go back to Moselle.
Yes, sir. I've been spending the majority of my weekends there since the weather was getting warmer and whatnot.
Now, going back to the days when you worked at Moselle, when you lived at Moselle, did you ever do much as far as work on the property or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I try to help out with what I could.
And when you were working out there on that property, did y'all ever have any problems with things like theft or strangers walking up, people hunting where they shouldn't have been? And you know how people do. I mean, was that ever anything you can remember?
As far as people hunting, we've had a tremendous issue with a group of dog hunters, and so they would always, release their dogs. They would run on our property and stuff like that. But other than that,
did it ever get like confrontational or anything with any of these people over the years that you were aware of or anything? I mean,
nothing crazy. Just telling people like hey, keep your dogs off the property.
How about things going missing, things getting stolen?
Never had a problem with that. Never have noticed anything stolen. Never reported anything stolen.
Let's talk about maybe people that you might remember who would have worked on the property and stuff like that. I understand. Do you know the current? I assume he's current. The current groundskeeper that's out there now.
I do. I've met him.
Talking about
CB Rowe.
You've met him.
I have.
Before CB, was there anybody else that worked there?
There was for a long term. There was a fellow named Ronnie Freeman who worked out there.
And Ronnie Freeman worked there for quite a while.
Yeah. I can't remember his entire stint, but it was several years.
And was Ronnie? Why did he end up not working for y'all anymore?
He expanded into his own business venture. He created his own business and wanted to take that on.
Okay. So it wasn't a bad thing. Right?
Oh no, he just had an opportunity and he wanted to take it, so had to give us his resignation.
Are you aware of any employees or other people that worked out there or anything like that had to be let go or had to be terminated or not renewed, or anybody you ever had problems with out there?
No, sir. To this day, those are the only 2 people that have been out there.
Okay. I'll touch on Mr. Rowe here a little bit more in a second. Let's go back to, I guess, working on our timeline here. So you left Memorial Day weekend, that's that Sunday, and you go back up to Columbia that evening, I suppose?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and from there, are you there for the rest of the week, or?
I stayed in Columbia. I had a...
Put that on mute, I apologize.
I stayed in Columbia on Sunday. I had a FaceTime interview on Monday, so that's why I went to Columbia, and I sat in Columbia on Monday to do that. I
had a FaceTime interview.
I did. Hang on.
Job
Hang on. This might have been... Nope, you know what? That's incorrect. That was the Monday prior. So
Okay.
the reason I left Edisto Sunday, went to Columbia Monday, met up with my girlfriend. Her and I drove on Monday to her house in Rock Hill, and then Tuesday I had to start my new job in Charlotte. So that's why we did all that.
And is that the Wild Wings job? Or?
That is.
Okay. Where were you working at before that? Or were you?
I was not.
Okay. So they're based out of Charlotte now?
Correct.
So, rest of the week, you were working, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was all that work done in the Charlotte area, or where?
In the Charlotte area.
And you were staying in Rock Hill at night, those nights?
Actually,
or what?
I was in the Charlotte area for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday I was in Greenville.
And was that work related?
It was.
Okay. So Thursday, Friday in Greenville, and then after Friday, where then?
Saturday, drove down to Columbia.
Well, now, you were staying overnight in Greenville?
Yes, sir. I was in a hotel.
Okay. So Saturday you drove to, I'm sorry.
Saturday I drove to Columbia.
Okay. And now, your girlfriend's not with you on these trips?
She met me when I left Greenville on Saturday. She left me in Columbia on Saturday.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you're in Columbia on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Anything significant about Columbia and Saturday? I mean, y'all just...
We were there for the baseball games.
Okay.
For the regional.
Stayed in Columbia that night?
Stayed in my apartment.
Just two of y'all? Y'all went to, you said the baseball game?
Went to the game. My parents came up, went to the game with them.
Okay, so your mother and father came up to the game Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They also stayed the night in Columbia on Saturday. Went back to the game on Sunday.
Did they stay in a hotel or something?
They did.
Okay. You know where they stayed?
I believe it was the Hilton on, I guess that's Senate Street.
More games on Sunday?
Yes, sir.
And they came to those as well?
We did. We went to those.
Okay, so that brings us to Sunday after the games.
Afternoon, hung out in Columbia in my apartment, stayed Sunday night, woke up early Monday morning, had to be back in Charlotte for work.
All right, so your mother and your dad, did they stay Sunday night? You know?
They did not. They went back to Moselle.
Now, do you know, just up to this point, up to Sunday, do you know where your brother Paul had been around this time? Was he?
I did not know.
you remember having any conversations with Paul? Obviously was there during the trip to Edisto.
Yes, sir.
You said, and you didn't report any issues, anything unusual. He didn't tell you about anything, any problems he was having, or anything like that.
No, sir.
Do you remember prior to Monday any conversations you had with Paul or anything specific, phone calls, anything like that?
No, sir.
And he didn't come to the games, obviously.
He did not. He did not. Actually, I think he was in Charleston because I know he was going to have to leave Charleston if he wanted to come to the game and come, and he didn't. So I think he just remained down there in Charleston.
Is he seeing anybody now, or?
I don't believe so. I don't know.
So you have to be back at Charlotte, work at Charlotte on Monday. So
Yes, sir.
Sunday night, after the games, what do you do?
I hung out in my apartment. Some people came over. We watched the rest of baseball going on around the place. Ordered some pizza and wings, and then just people left, and I went to sleep.
These are people, friends y'all have up there?
Yeah, friends of mine from
Was
the
your girlfriend
area.
there that night too?
She was not. She had left. She had left Sunday to go back to Rock Hill.
Who were some of the people that came over Sunday?
It was just two. It was a buddy of mine named, and then later on that evening, a buddy of mine named came over.
These people you know through school, or?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry, I didn't do the math. Have you graduated from USC? You have some years in?
I graduated from Wofford College.
Wofford. Okay, I'm sorry. When did you graduate?
2018.
So was graduation present?
It was. No, yes, that was the graduation present.
Gotcha. Not bad. All right, so comes over a little later. Had left by the time came
No,
over,
sir. Still there, just the three of us.
Watched the rest of the games.
Yes, sir.
They both left afterwards, or did they stay over? Or?
They both left. We watched a pay-per-view fight at 11, and then they left when that was over, probably around midnight.
All right. So you spent the night there, and you need to be in Charlotte on Monday?
Monday. Yes, sir.
What time do you leave out to go to?
I left Columbia at 9:30, 9:45 because I had to be at Charlotte at 11 o'clock.
Who's your boss up there in Charlotte? Anybody you report to, or?
Yeah, I report to the vice president and the human resources agent.
You know the names offhand?
Yeah, the VP's name is. Do not know how to spell the last name.
Period it is.
Okay.
And the HR representative is.
All right, so you had to be there at 11, so you go to work up there on Monday. And do you speak with any of your family members at all
Charles, I'm gonna step out 1 second.
to a certain point on Monday? Just about anything?
Yeah, me and my mom had shared several phone calls. She was trying to get me. I take. And we were on the phone back and forth because she was trying to get that ordered and sent to my girlfriend's house so that I could have it.
You remember about what time she spoke to you?
No, I just remember it was during the afternoon period. I was traveling around, didn't keep touch. I also spoke to my dad in the afternoon around probably 3:30.
Remember what that conversation was about?
Just about how, checking in, how each other's day was going, stuff like that. We did that pretty often.
That's pretty common.
Yes, sir.
Describe your relationship with your father.
Extremely close.
You think extremely close? Okay. How about with your mother?
Extremely close.
And your brother?
Extremely close.
And I'll talk a little more about your family in a little bit. I know some of this stuff's kind of probably a little difficult to talk about, I know, so I'm trying to get through some timeline things here. So you have a couple conversations. The last time you think you talked to your father was around 3:30 at least.
Yes, sir.
How about Paul? Did you talk to Paul at all on Monday?
I hadn't talked to Paul since Saturday. I spoke to him and asked him if he was coming up to the game. He informed me that he was not coming to the game, and that was the last time I spoke to him.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and move up a little bit more in the timeline here.
No problem.
As we go. So let's go through the rest of your day. I think about the latest thing I think I've got, unless I'm wrong, is you talking to your father around 3:30.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any more conversations with your mother after that you recall?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. Just kind of walk me through the rest of that day, if you will.
Well, I was at work. I was at a Wild Wing restaurant. I was calling applicants and scheduling them for an interview to come the next day.
Where was that restaurant located at?
It's in Charlotte. It's off of a road called Airsley's Boulevard. No, I think it's like AR. There's a Y in there somewhere. SLEY, something like that.
Sure, I can find it if I need to. You're calling applicants.
Yes, sir. Phone calling applicants, setting them up for interviews the next day at the same location.
I have to imagine that's a busy job right now. Trying to get them to come to work.
Yes, sir.
Set up interviews the following day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now, do they do when they come in? Do they interview with you, or they?
I don't know. I was supposed to do it. I was supposed to start the day after.
All right. So you're there for a while doing that. How long are you at work?
Probably till 4. Probably left around 4. And I left. Had to run an errand. They wanted me to go to Party City and buy balloons and a helium tank. So I did that, and when I was done with that, then I went back to my girlfriend's house, which is where I was going to stay the rest of the week. In the evening.
So the Party City stuff you buy, you had to bring that back to that same restaurant afterwards?
No, sir. I just kept it in my truck, and I was going to return it to the restaurant the next day.
I got you. So you go back to your girlfriend's house?
Yes, sir.
It's just you and her there? Her mother's not there?
It is just her and I there, and her mother doesn't get there until later when she gets off work.
About what time was that you got back?
I probably got back around 5:30.
And mother gets there?
Probably 6:30. Yeah.
Were you there when she got home?
Yes, I was. I was there for the rest of the night.
Okay. Anything significant happened the rest of that evening that you can, until the time that you obviously find out something? Anything leading up to that point?
No, sir. Just standard sitting around watching TV, got in bed.
And so at some point, you get contacted.
I do.
And who is that that contacts you?
My dad sent a text message that contained my girlfriend and I believe, and it said, "Call me urgent." Call him, and then he tells me what has happened.
You still have that text message?
I do.
So you call him and he tells you.
Yes,
You remember what What he told you?
When I got on the phone, he asked me if I was sitting down, and I was asking him if everything was okay, is anything wrong, and he said something terrible has happened. I could tell that he was emotional. He goes on to tell me that my mother and brother have been shot and killed, and it gets to the point, and then he hands the phone to my Uncle Randy, and then he proceeds to tell me the same thing, and I told him that I am getting my stuff prepared and that I am on the way home.
And I don't know if you know how to answer this, but I mean, when you get that news, I mean, does your mind go to thinking about how that could have happened, or I mean, did you start wondering how that could have occurred?
Yes, and just didn't understand how to really comprehend it. My main focus was getting my things together and getting down there to my family as soon as possible.
And you told your girlfriend, I'm sure about.
Yes, my girlfriend was in bed. We were in bed together. She heard me on the phone. I told her what had happened. When I got off the phone, she immediately started packing her stuff, and she drove me down to Moselle.
So she drove you. Did she drive you in your Yukon?
She didn't. She drove her car down to Moselle.
What kind of car does she have?
She has a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
What color is that Jeep?
It's white.
South Carolina tags? Or...
South Carolina tags.
Is she from Rock Hill, or?
She is.
So she drives you to Moselle. What do you remember about what time you get down there?
We left probably around 11. Got there maybe a little bit shy of 2 a.m. Right around 2 a.m.
And do you have any more conversations with your family once you're there, I guess? I mean,
once I
does
get
anybody
there.
give you any more details, I guess, about what has happened? Does anyone?
No, sir. Just go inside. Me and my dad embrace very emotionally, and try to just start.
All right. So one thing I want to touch on, and I've still got I know it probably seems like we've gone through your whole life story here, and I might be a little tedious in the way I ask these questions, but a lot of times asking things will give me another thing to splinter off on. I will circle back, but when your father called, he did make mention to Paul receiving threats. He said something about he's been receiving threats, and he said something about my son knowing who they are, and I think he kind of makes reference to you knowing something about those threats, and I don't know if you're aware of that or whatever, but it kind of brings me to the next thing here, and that's a little bit why I asked you about your thought process just now. And certainly you've had more time to talk about it and process it since that time, but I'd like to talk a little bit about that comment and those feelings and these threats and so forth. And there may be multiples, it may be one significant one, but I'll let you start. I see you nodding. You must have something in mind. Yeah.
Well, I understood when he used to tell me what happened. I didn't understand of anybody, directly messaging him and threatening in his life and things of that such. The things that I knew about were, if he was out somewhere, somebody would, brush up with him, call him, piece of shit and all these other things. And, that was mostly my understanding of what he was going through, is that he would try to go places with his friends, and then there was always somebody there that wanted to, make a comment or stir something up in that sense.
So he never tells you about, like, I got a text message, somebody threatening me. I never got somebody DMing me or sending something on some other social media or driving by the house or spray painting something or anything overt like that somebody was threatening?
No, sir. He never told me anything about anything like that. I never was aware of anything like that.
But he would tell you about people maybe intimidating him or making those kind of comments and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines.
There had actually been several physical assaults on Paul.
Okay.
I don't know any details.
Do we know if any of them have actually been reported to authorities?
I do not know.
Okay.
I know that there was at least one physical assault in Charleston. Buster, I don't know if you were aware of that or not.
I was aware of that.
Okay. And Danny, just briefly, I apologize. I'm so terrible with last names. Can I
Henderson.
Henderson. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. All right, I'll get you on mine as well. Okay, so let me run some just specific stuff by you here. We all know about the boat incident, and I'm not trying to assume too much, but I'm guessing that a lot of these threats and so forth are coming as a result of that boat incident as one of the primary things. Am I wrong in that?
That's always what I thought.
That's been 100% of it, you think, or has there been other reasons, or?
I think that's been the cause.
Okay. As far as the other passengers on that boat, Anthony and Connor and the other girls and so forth on there, did you ever have any, or did he ever express any specific concerns about any of them posing a threat, threatening, and being frightened of them? Anything along those lines, specifically related to those people?
No, sir.
Did Paul have any other, that you're aware of, any other enemies, rivals, anybody else who you've considered or thought about or that he's directly told you about that might have won the heart?
No, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that you can look up on, Facebook to say all these terrible things and whatnot. Their names I couldn't relay to you. I just, I know there were a lot of people out there that were upset about the things that had happened and had expressed that to him in public situations. Now, I don't know any of them by their name.
Was Paul taking any kind of precautions about these threats? I mean, I've been out to the area, and y'all are all avid hunters and so forth. Obviously, there's a lot of weapons around the house and so forth. Was Paul taking any other, precautions or anything to protect himself from these sort of things?
I don't think so. I mean, really, I'd say the only precaution he took is anytime he went somewhere where these things were known to happen, he would just be around a bunch of his buddies that would be able to, de-escalate any situation that arose.
Did he typically carry weapons with him in his vehicle, or?
There would occasionally be guns in his truck, just from forgetting to remove them from the farm and having them be around.
Now, when you say his truck, there's a lot of trucks out there, obviously, and which one was he primarily getting around in?
His primary truck was the F-150 Platinum, but he would also sometimes take the 250 diesel with him too. If ever.
F-150 Platinum, is that the black one?
No, sir. No, sir. It's a white truck.
It's a white truck. You know about what year though?
I don't. I'd like to say around the 14-15 mark. The black one was my old truck.
The black 150, the Lariat.
Yes. Yes. And then it stays down there for when I come and need to use it.
It's just kind of a getting around down there truck.
Correct.
And so he also uses, you said, a diesel.
He does. Like if he ever puts his truck in the shop, or he ever got to make some, he'll come down to Moselle, get the diesel, take it back to Columbia for a couple of days, and then come back and trade them back out.
So actually, let's back up a little bit and talk about Paul some then. You say he'll come down from Columbia. So was he primarily staying in Columbia?
He was during the academic year. He was going to school there.
In New York.
Where does he stay at in Columbia?
He has an apartment in. It's called like. I get them confused. It's one or the other.
Okay, I think I know about what you're talking about. Does he live in that apartment alone, or
No. There's a boy in there that stays with him. Just one of the boys down for Memorial Day.
Right.
He stays in there.
He's a good friend of his.
He is. Yes, sir.
So he's there during the academic year, and now that that's over, so had he left Columbia and now was staying at Moselle? Do you know where he was staying leading up to this?
He was kind of all around. He'd go stay at Moselle. I know he'd love to go down to Charleston towards more of the weekend and stuff like that. It just really depends on what was going on at the time, where he was going to be. It was very sporadic like that.
Right. When he stays in Charleston, is there a place down there?
Not that he just has multiple friends, and he'll stay with one of them.
Okay. Do you ever stay in Edisto?
Yeah.
Weeks and other times.
Yes, sir. We stay down at Edisto too.
And on his own sometimes. Now, when he stayed at Moselle, did he stay in the main house usually? Did he stay in one of the outbuildings or anything like that?
Yeah, he would stay in the main house.
And now, to your knowledge, just touching again on Moselle, your mother and father stay in the main house usually?
Yes, sir.
Do they ever split time between places? Stay in other houses or other places?
Yeah.
That you know of?
Mom was doing a lot of renovations down at the beach house, so sometimes she would be staying down there.
Okay.
And Dad would obviously be staying to go to work in Moselle. And she was always back and forth a lot. She'd go up there, and then she'd have to come take care of some stuff down at the farm, then she'd go back and forth.
Generally speaking, starting with, your family's obviously been under a lot of pressure over the last year or so here. More than a year here, but obviously since the boat accident, things have been difficult. Publicity, I have to imagine that does put some kind of strain on everyone and pressure, and then you have the threats on top of that. I know this sounds a little personal, but if I don't ask it, somebody else will make up something. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Just ask whatever you do.
Were there any family problems that you were seeing that might have been a cause of that stress, or fights where any things like that, just in general?
No, sir, no family problems. I mean, obviously people are going to be upset about it, but no, it never caused any tension between any of us.
That you can see.
Yes, sir.
So to your knowledge, there weren't any times where maybe your family were spending time apart, or they were spending time apart from Paul, or anything like that? Any kind of family division that you were aware of, any of that kind of thing?
Oh, no. I mean, just when people had to do what they had to do in a different area, then we would usually all meet up for weekends and whenever we could.
And as we talked, y'all were together on Memorial Day weekend, and you described that as a good family weekend, no significant problems that you know of?
Yes, sir.
Like that. Okay. So Getting back, I guess, a little bit more, we talked about the threats, we covered that. Had you ever talked to your father about any of the threats or any of the stuff that Paul had brought up to you, or did you ever go to him about concern and tell him that, hey, Paul's telling me this, or
Yeah, did I ever go to my dad?
yeah, about that?
I just said that I was worried about him. That he likes to go places and he seems to be getting a lot of lip from a lot of people, and just that I, basically, giving up my sympathy, really, just saying, feel bad for him and whatnot.
Do you know if Paul was telling your father about any of the stuff?
I don't know. I'm sure he was. They were very close. Through everything, they had gone through everything together. So I'm sure that he was notifying him, probably even more so than he was notifying me.
All right, let's go back and talk a little bit about a guy I brought up earlier, C.B. Rao. Am I saying that right, Rao?
Roe.
Okay. How long, to your knowledge, has C.B. worked?
Not long.
Yeah.
Let's see. He had just kind of been around right before turkey season started, so probably late February, early March area, maybe.
And what is he hired to do there?
He's hired to be just an upkeeper. When we lost our other fella, everything had kind of gotten grown up and a little bit out of sorts, and he was there to kind of work on equipment if it was broken, plow and plant food plots, fix deer stands, just a general manager of the property.
And that's basically the same thing his predecessor had done.
Yeah.
How did they go about hiring him?
I'm not sure. Dad, I spoke to Dad one day, and he said that he was meeting with a fella that he thought would be a good fit to work out there and take Ronnie's spot. And then I said, okay, great, we need somebody out there. And he's called back and said that he'd hired this fella and that he was going to start working out there and helping.
You ever get any information on him and why he worked there? Was he doing a good job? Was he not doing a good job? I mean, did you ever hear from either Paul or from your father or your mother about the kind of job he was doing?
I had heard that he'd done some things that they were displeased with. I know he killed a bunch of sunflowers and other plants, but for the most part, I think he was doing what was asked of him, and wasn't in a huge row about stuff like that. Paul's also very picky when it comes to the property, so he wants everything to be perfect.
And so Paul did a fair amount of work out there himself.
Yes. Yeah, Paul did a huge amount of work.
Now, was that his only job, or Paul had some other stuff he was doing, or was it primarily working on the property?
When he wasn't in school, he was really primarily working on the property. I know he had spoken about going and starting to maybe help Uncle John do some stuff over there at his business, but I don't know if that had formed yet. So other than school, it's pretty much either he was at school or he was doing something around the property.
John, your uncle?
Yes.
And what is his business?
It's the Murdaugh Rental Company. He sells rental equipment.
Okay. So he'd be working over there assisting him with rental equipment sales?
Yeah, and like I said, he had just mentioned it. I'm not even sure that had started at all.
Okay. So with CB being hired, is CB reporting to Paul, or is Paul just working in concert with him? Or?
No, Paul just understands some things that needs to be done, and Dad gives us authority when he hires somebody that if we want something him to do, we're allowed to go tell him that we want him to do something. And Paul, would obviously help and would oversee a lot. So, if CB did something, Paul would go and look at it, see what the product was like. But now in the end, he reported to Dad.
Katie, I apologize. I've been doing a lot of talking up here. If you need to elaborate on something I've asked a question about, please chime in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so he killed some sunflowers, some other things. Anything else he had done job performance-wise that you heard about? Or
No, just I would get a call here or there talking about, hey man, CB messed this up. And then I wouldn't put.
Is this from Paul?
It'd be from Paul or from Dad, or even I guess Paul would tell Mom sometimes, and even she would call me and tell me what Paul had said. But that was really about it that I understood. I would shake when I'm somewhere else, I'm like, all right, well, shake a lot of it off.
Now, was there any talk about firing CB because of this stuff? Was that anything?
Never that I heard.
Yeah. And he's still working there now. Is that
Correct? Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, he was working there yesterday.
Anybody else work out on the property?
Yeah, we do have a house lady that works inside the house, cleaning the house.
Who was that?
Her name is Blanca.
Blanca?
I assume so.
Don't know her last name?
No, I don't know her last name.
How long has Blanca worked at the house?
Blanca's been working there now for about, I'd say steady. She's been there for a while, maybe even like a year or so.
And so, is Blanca there like every day, every couple days a week?
It depends. Her schedule changes, but she'll come, either a couple days in a row, day, not be there, and then come a day. It fluctuates.
Does she live nearby?
I don't know. I think she lives in Brunson, maybe.
Okay. Anything you can say about her that you know her? I mean, any issues with her?
No issues with her. She's just a nice lady. She just she comes in and sweeps and mops and laundry and stuff like that.
Okay. Blanca ever bring any family members out to the property, or that you know of? Or
No, sir.
Like that? And so she has access to the house and so forth. Does she clean out on any of the other grounds, or is it just a house thing, as far as you know?
No, it's just a house. And if we do something, she'll also clean the cabin occasionally. But it's mostly everything takes place up at the big house for her.
And when you say the cabin, that's that building when you're coming up the road.
It is.
The kennels on your right.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody stay in the cabin regularly?
No one stays in there regularly.
Anybody stay in there occasionally?
Occasionally, yeah. Like sometimes if we're gonna have a crowd of people over, we'll say we're gonna stay at the cabin just to give Mom and Dad some peace, not keep them up at night.
How many people will the cabin accommodate?
It's got a double bed. It's got 3 twins and 2 pull-out couches. So I mean, if you had to, I guess you could really sleep. You can sleep 10 people in there. I don't think I've ever had it that full though.
It's going back to CB just for a little bit. So he works the whole property and all. Does he do anything inside the house?
No, sir. Closest he'll get to the house is he may be asked to blow off the porch. But no, he doesn't do anything inside.
You know anything about him personally? Family life, history, any of that kind of stuff?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I met him one day and he broke down like all these jobs he used to have. I didn't really retain a whole lot of it, I know.
Anything that stood out to you?
No. I know that he was, I don't know, since he's been working, I know he was prosecuted in a case when he was teaching at Thomas Hayward Academy.
You know anything about that?
No, I don't know anything about it. I just knew that it occurred.
Is it because he told you about it, or because you heard through other means?
No, because I heard it through somebody. Can't remember where that came from either. Maybe Mom.
Anybody else that works out there?
No, sir. That's it.
You familiar with the gentleman that feeds the dogs? cleans the kennels?
Dale. Dale does. Yeah, Dale works out there. I'm sorry.
Dale, you know his last name?
No, I don't.
Okay. You know anything that much about Dale?
No, I just know Dale shows up twice a day, sprays the kennels out, feeds the dogs, and feeds the chickens, and gives them all water.
You ever had any problems with the animals on the farm? Anybody ever try to harm them, poison them, shoot them, any of that kind of stuff?
No, sir.
No issues of animals turning up mysteriously dead or vandalism to the kennels? Anything
No,
like
I mean
that?
we've had some chickens die, but that's just because chickens die.
Nothing unusual.
No, sir.
How about so y'all got several outbuildings in that house. You've got the cabin, and you've got the main house itself, the thing there, and the vehicles that are there. And are there ever any weapons just left in any of those locations? As far as weapon storage out there in that area, do you know primarily where weapons are kept? Is it unusual to have them in other places?
Primarily, weapons are kept up at the big house in the what we call the pool table room. It's like the gaming room, and there's a big gun cabinet in there. But yeah, weapons are always forgotten. We'll go on hunts, and it's never unusual to find a gun in a car or in a Ranger, or I mean, even leaned up in the shed. I've left a shotgun up there before sometimes after duck hunts and whatnot. But yes,
You left the shotgun where?
I just know that I've left them around at times. Nothing specific.
Nothing specific. Ever had any of these guns go missing or
Not to my knowledge. I know that for Christmas one year, me and my brother both got 300 blackouts, and I know that one of those went missing. But I mean, we got them 3 years ago, so one went missing a while ago.
you know how that happened?
I don't.
You still have yours? Or?
I do. Yes, sir.
Where's yours at?
Well, it was at the house, but I think it's been taken now.
Is that the only two of those particular weapons y'all owned? Or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's those two.
When you say it was taken, you think law enforcement took it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know anything about the one that went missing, how that happened?
I don't.
That one belonged to Paul?
Yes, sir. It was, that was the one he was gifted.
You mentioned those two specifically, but are there any other guns you can remember that might have either gone missing or were suspected stolen, or
No, sir.
maybe guests out there, anybody that might have
Not other than that one.
ever sold any of the weapons out there, or know if your brothers sold any of the weapons out there?
I don't know. I'm sure they have. But as far as the ones that I know that are mine, they're all there, but not to my knowledge. No, I don't remember them selling anything or anything like that.
Which ones would you consider yours?
I have a 243 rifle that is a Tika. I have a 20 gauge Beretta, and I have a 12 gauge Benelli.
And then the blackout, right?
Oh, and the 300 blackout.
Any handguns?
We do have handguns.
When you say we, you mean individually, or y'all just have handguns in the safe?
We just have them at the house. We just have a couple.
You keep one in your vehicle or anything?
No, sir.
Do you keep any of the other weapons in your vehicle as you're traveling back and forth?
No, sir.
Nothing for personal protection, anything like that up there?
No, sir.
How about your brother? Do you have any idea what guns he owned, or which ones were his?
Yeah, a little bit more than I did. I know he's got same thing, 12, 20 gauge. I think his are both Benelli. I know he's got.
You think both you have 20 gauge Beretta, you think he's got 20 gauge?
I know he's
Benelli?
got. I think he's got a 20 gauge. I think he's got a 20 gauge Benelli. I don't know, because a lot of them Dad buys and we just use them as like commutal.
Yeah.
But the ones that I guess he said what would be his is I know he's got a 20 gauge Beretta, the same one as mine. We just have two of them.
Okay.
And then he's got a 12 gauge Benelli, and he's got a couple. He's got a 270 short mag. He's got a 7mm 08. And obviously he had one of the blackouts that is missing.
You know when that went missing?
No, I know it wasn't far off from when we got him in Christmas, maybe 6 months to 8 months, maybe to a year after that. So it's, you know, multiple years it's been gone.
Okay. You said 1 year, Christmas. Did you say what year?
It would have been the Christmas of 2018.
Let's talk about the kennels for a little bit.
So the what?
I want to talk about the kennels.
Okay.
And obviously, you know, that's where things happen down there.
Yes, sir.
I just want to talk about maybe some routines down there. Your mother frequented the kennels, I suppose. Is that...
My mom did frequent the kennels. When she was in Moselle, she loved to go down there and, you know, she would let the dogs out and do all that. So she was down there often.
What's your mother, if we can talk about her for a moment, just digressing from the kennels just a little bit. Her day-to-day as you understood it, did she have any kind of work she did, side jobs, volunteering, anything that she passed her time with?
Nothing like that. She would just, you know, her day-to-day were, you know, getting things for us done that we needed.
Okay.
And taking care of anything around the house and planning anything or whatnot.
And it sounds like she was doing some renovations at the beach house in Edisto. Was she having contractors do that work? Was it stuff she was doing, or?
Yeah, she was doing some inside stuff with a interior decorator and also some contractors. Yeah, they were redoing some ceilings and some flooring and stuff like that. And then she had gotten a decorator in there and they were doing that. And then her most recent thing is she was getting a couple local builders were fixing the porches and the staircases.
That was a constant need at the beach. So when she's not down there at Edisto doing that and working on that, you don't know of any other things she might have been doing, any other side work, volunteering, anything like that?
No,
she talked about.
No, she didn't do any side work or any volunteering, nothing like that.
Did you spend any time with any other family members?
Oh yeah, she frequented. Or wait, what now?
Any other family members, like extended family or like her family?
Yeah, she would always, you know, she was always in pretty constant contact with her mother and her sister, and you know they would see each other pretty frequently, whether they'd go to Somerville and have lunch with their mom, or they go shopping in Charleston or anything like that.
Mother lives in Somerville.
My mom's mom lives in Somerville. Yeah.
My apologies. Mother's mother lives in Somerville. And her sister?
Sister lives in Charleston.
Sister lives in Charleston. And so she spent a lot of time there at Moselle?
Mom?
Would you say? Yes.
Yeah. You know, we were there usually, our kind of routine was we were there kind of when it was cooler and during a hunting season, and then towards the summer when it kicked up, we would be more, and she would be more down to the beach, as we all would.
Charles,
Yes.
what about like a best friend? Excuse me. I have flowers blooming in the field next to my house, and I might die from it. It's not COVID. I've been tested. What about like best friends? Like, would she have friends over to the house in Moselle, or would like a best friend or somebody like that, somebody close to her that wasn't necessarily family, would go with her anywhere?
Not usually. I mean, Moselle's such a desolate area.
Yeah.
But, you know, her most frequent conversations, you know, truly took place with, you know, who was, but that, I mean, that's really it. I know, she spoke to a lot on the telephone, and they have a place not too far down the road from where our farm is. But those were her, strict, deep contacts.
So there was really nobody else like she would confide in, or like if something was wrong, did you know of anybody she'd like call up and say, "Hey, I got to get this off my chest," or anything like that?
No, nobody other than those people that I've named.
No, okay.
When she would go to the kennels, I mean, was there a set routine to how she did that, or so forth?
I don't think so, and I don't know. I didn't go with her all the time. I just think she, and she also she would like to walk. She would walk from the house to the kennel. She would like to do that for exercise, and then when she got down there, I think she just kind of played with the dogs. She would maybe feed a dog, spray out a kennel if she needed to, if it was dirty. She'd walk up there. Sometimes I'm assuming we used to get packages at the shed. Maybe she would check for packages.
The dogs themselves, I mean, did any of them specifically belong to any specific members of the family, or?
Well, we would kind of title them that way, but they were all just family dogs. Like my black dog's up there, who I claim as mine. But other than that, I know Bubba was a family dog. Paul just had gotten a dog, but he's off at obedient camp. My grandfather's dog would be out there often. My buddy Rogan's dog would be out there often because he worked all day, and he would check him into the kennel and then come get him in the evening. And then we had a couple.
Rogan is
Rogan Gibson.
Where does Rogan live?
He's been going in between, but his house is out on. But he's the way his work's lined up, he's been staying with his girlfriend because he's been working more.
He has a dog out there as well.
He does. He just got a puppy, and he'll put it out there if he needs to go do something for a little while.
And would it be unusual for Paul to be down there around that same time, as far as you know?
No, Paul was always around. Maybe not the kennel, but around that shed area. He would, he liked to work on stuff, so he was usually around any given time around there.
And I ask these questions to lead to something you may have thought about. I mean, when you find out about this terrible thing that's happened and so forth, and you found out that they were down there, was their presence down there of any kind of surprise to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Buster, do you know anybody who would have wanted to harm your mother?
No, sir.
Anything she ever told you about, any threats, any issues? Anyone you've ever seen threaten her? Anybody else you can think of that maybe temporary work or somebody doing work out at the property who might have come out there for some other reason? Could be just a contractor that came out to paint something or work on a car or deliver something out there. Anything
No, sir.
that comes to mind that you might be aware of? I know you're not down there as much as the others, sir.
That I knew of, there was nothing on anybody's calendar of anybody coming to do anything, especially that time in the evening.
Dylan's half hour.
As you've had a chance to think about it, and I think I've alluded to this, or maybe even before I'd asked it, but I mean, as you've thought of it, I mean, do you have any thoughts about who might have wanted to harm your brother? Anybody?
No, sir. I know people disliked him due to the accident, but I couldn't single out anybody that I know that would want to do what has been done.
you ever spend much time at the kennels and so forth yourself? And when you came down there, did you ever feed the dogs or go into those areas?
No, I would let I would go down there sometimes. If my girlfriend stayed in Moselle, she's real real fond of animals and stuff. She'd like to go look at the chickens and whatever, and I'd go let my dog out for a little while and stuff like that. And I'd hang around the shed too, working on little things and stuff. So I spent a fair amount of time down there as well.
Let me ask you this: do you ever have any issues? Like, say somebody's out there firing a weapon or something like that. Anybody ever accidentally shoot any of those buildings in the past or something like that? Let a round off or accidentally put one through a wall somewhere? Or
Any of
like
the
that?
shed buildings?
Yeah, any of the buildings out there.
Never that I was aware of.
Anybody? Was it uncommon for anybody to shoot out like in the yard and so forth? I mean, like just out there on the property. I mean, I know obviously they were shooting for hunting and stuff, but out there in the grounds. I mean, was it
Like around the area of the shed?
around the area of the shed, around the house, around the processing area, any of those areas? I mean,
by the house we'd do it like that's kind of where we did our skeet shooting.
okay.
Is over there by the house, but no, we didn't fire many. I mean, I never shot anything real close to the shed or anything like that. You know, it was more ever if you were gonna try to shoot an animal or something somewhere else.
Give me a moment, just so I don't digress too much. I just want to look at a couple of things here. You've been staying down here since?
Yes, sir. I've been here since Monday, or I guess early Tuesday morning.
You haven't gone back up, right?
No, sir.
Girlfriend been down here the whole time?
She has.
Katie, while I'm looking at my notes, if you got something you want to talk about, go ahead.
Buster, what do you think? What do you make of all this? Like,
What do you mean? What do I make of all this?
of all this with your mom and your brother? Do you think maybe someone was after your brother and your mom happened to be down there? Like what is...
I would say if I had to have a take, that's probably what it would be.
Yeah.
I think that someone was probably trying to kill my brother, and that my mom was probably just there.
Do you think that was because of the boat?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry for asking that, but
Okay.
you know, y'all knew
I'm
them
sure
better
you thought
than
of little
anybody.
else. I mean, to some degree. Is there any other possibilities you've considered?
No, sir.
I want to ask you about something, and I want to preface this by saying this is based purely on rumor, and it's not something we're investigating as an agency, but it's the incident with the Smith family. You familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am.
Say it again, please. I missed
The
that.
Smith family,
Okay.
the boy that
Right, I
got
got it.
out.
I got it. I knew it is.
Has anything about that incident come into play in terms of threats, in terms of your thoughts on this incident, in terms of in any faction? Is there any part of that, rumors you've heard, accusations, any threats you've had related to that?
No, sir.
Is there anything you want to elaborate on that? I mean, has anyone ever questioned you about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've read the articles and the rumors and saying that, you know, I've had people understand to think that that's what I did, and I've had people message me and stuff and call me a piece of shit and a murderer and a faggot and things like that, but I've never received a formal threat, and I haven't heard a lot about it in a while either.
It's pretty much died off.
I would say that, yes.
You say message you, I mean, it's like social media messaging, or
Yeah,
text messages
this would be Facebook, and Facebook. I think I got a couple off of Instagram as well.
you receive any of those kind of messages after the boat incident?
I did. Very similar. But again, never a formal threat.
Anyone you ever recognized?
No, sir. Never anybody that I knew who they were.
Did you ever do any kind of looking to see if there was somebody who might have at least been, if nothing else, geographically able to carry out a threat or something like that? Or
I
ever
didn't.
look into who it was?
I didn't. I didn't take much away from it. I figured the people just saying stuff.
Have you saved any of that stuff? Screenshotted any of it? Or?
I haven't saved any of it. It might still be in the, in the far lowers of my messages, but actually, to be honest with you, I think I probably deleted some of it too because I just didn't enjoy looking at it.
As when we conclude here today, what I might ask as you go forward, is unfun as it might be, is that maybe you go back and see what might be there, and maybe see about screenshotting that and provide that to us. On the off chance that a name might pop up that might be useful to us down the road.
Yes, sir.
I'd encourage you to do that.
Charles, let me add, I have been involved with the family primarily just trying to keep Alex straight up since the boat. There was a time there, about a week, 10-day, 2-week period, where the line between the boat and the Smith thing really got blurred and all mixed up in social media. But then that sort of calmed down. But there was a period of time in there within several weeks after where people were associating one with the other and just,
that's an important distinction to make, Buster, as we sit here, that you certainly have a family resemblance to your brother. And while I'm certainly not saying this was the case, I mean, if someone were angry about the Smith case, is it conceivable they could have found out about your property, come out looking for you, and some kind of scenario like that? I'm not saying that, and I certainly don't want to give you any kind of bad feelings, but it's a possibility, like all the possibilities we talk about, that we have to consider. So that's why I want to talk to you about if you had any specific people you were concerned about along that avenue.
No, sir. I wouldn't say I had any concerns about that.
Okay. Is there anything I haven't asked you about you would expect me to ask you about?
No, sir.
I mean, you feel like we've gone over everything you expected to talk about, or have you talked about everything that might be helpful to us as far as you know?
Yes, sir. You've got everything that I know about anything that's happened.
How has your father been with all of this? I mean, is
He's been.
I don't mean since the death of your brother, but I mean with all the other drama that was leading up to this and all the other stress and so forth. I mean, has he taken it okay? Has it been a problem?
No, I say if anything, he's taking it okay. I mean, we're obviously all upset and we're all frustrated about how people say things and turn things into what they turned them into. But as far as he was kind of the I guess the platform, always the one telling us not to worry about it, but always kind of the anchor and keeping everything straight and everything like that.
Give me just a moment. See, I know I've been kind of all over the map. I want to make sure I did not come back to something that I told you I would come back to. Has anyone given you information about what happened or what they think happened? Has anyone talked to you about what occurred that night, or
As far as like speculative
or actual? I mean, has anyone given you anything that they know that you think we might not know, or that?
No, I mean the only thing that I understand is I understand what happened that night, and that's pretty much where my information ends, because I know what happened.
Would you tell me in your words what happened?
Well, from the way that I understand it is that my mom and my brother were down at the kennels, and that from what it seems to me is that two people came up and somehow got on top of them and shot him dead.
What makes you say that it was two people?
I read an article that stated 2 guns.
That's what you base that on?
It is.
been down to that area since then?
I have not.
You haven't been anywhere near the kennels or the building?
No, sir.
Because my next question was going to be, having been down there, is there anything that you, with your knowledge of the property, have noticed that was unusual or
I have.
place?
I haven't gone down there.
Okay, I understand.
We already had permission from everybody to go back up to the house before Buster got home.
Yeah.
And we were already back up to the house.
Is there anything different or odd about the house that you've noticed, or anything that may look out of place, like if somebody came into the house while your dad was gone, or and your mom and brother were at the kennels? Have you noticed anything like that?
No, nothing's different like that.
Okay.
Yes, you said the last time you think you spoke to Paul was last thing he was going to come into the game. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? You didn't have any other text messages or anything leading up to that?
No, sir.
This time, or internet messages? All right. Well, one thing I need to do, and we're asking this of everybody today, is as you know, we've collected a lot of evidence down there at the scene. And because it's a family property that people have frequented here and there, as we gather evidence and we get things like DNA, we need to get elimination samples from the family members here. And the reason why is that if we run something and it comes back unknown person, we have to find out who that unknown person is. If it comes back to a family member, I'm going to expect to some degree that family member DNA is going to be in common areas. Something in the dog kennel, something on a shared weapon that people touch, something in a vehicle people drove. So what I'd like to do while we're here today is get what's called a buccal swab from you. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
It's a long cotton swab. I've got them in the back. And what I'll do is I'll just rub the inner side of your cheeks. We'll put it in a bag, and it'll get sent up and run as comparison evidence for everybody. And there. Do you have any problems submitting to that today?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I'll wrap up there. Katie, what am I missing out on here? I'm sure Buster does not want to sit through another, however long we've been talking, interview if he can help it.
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Having said that, I will give you the caveat of I'm sure I'm going to get out of here and remember that I didn't ask you something. And to that same degree, that's why I gave you my card. If you get out of here and think I should have told that agent this thing, please call me and let me know. I'll be happy to sit down with you whenever you want to on this.
Yes, sir.
Our goal in this is to get to the bottom of this. That's all it absolutely deserves to be done so.
Yes, sir.
Anything, Danny, have you got anything you want to ask us? Or
You've been thorough, very courteous.
do you have any questions for us about this? I don't know how much I can really elaborate on.
Yes, we have a lot of questions, but if there's going to be some elaboration, I think we would prefer it in a group setting.
I understand.
And to the extent that y'all will,
Yes, sir.
we are. There's so many rumors, and I don't know how else to say it. We're starving for something that just.
Yes, sir. We understand.
Well, and we're certainly eager for anything, and anything.
You have
Under the sun.
not missed anything that I have heard or that I have anywhere in the public or even within our firm privately. You have covered all the bases, and if there was something that was significant that I knew about that you haven't asked about, I would tell you. But
There's nobody that knows your family as well as you and your other family members, and a lot of that stuff isn't always public, and a lot of it isn't always easy to talk about. And I want you to think hard about that. And if you do have something, no matter how trivial, no matter how inconsequential, I asked you a lot of things that were seemingly inconsequential today, but there's a reason for that, because as a question comes up, if I've already got the answer, I don't necessarily have to do so.
I understand.
Yeah, I know you would.
We don't want to waste too much time going down the wrong road either. So.
And we understand y'all got an investigation to do, and we're not trying to impede that or ask you to give us any special favors, but just anything y'all could share. You don't need to share it just with the family, or share it just with Alex.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it to a crowd. No,
Yes.
Alex.
What I can tell you
Alex
just
is
short term,
really-
and we'll get into that, but I can tell you that we have been working nonstop on this. We are considering every single possibility, every aspect of it. And as these things are coming up, and we're sending people to track down leads and run them down, and just like in every investigation, you get something. A lot of times you follow up on it, it doesn't necessarily pan out to be something, but it doesn't mean we don't look into it.
Yeah, we jumped off a bridge for 2 hours Tuesday night. Remember all that? Did
Well,
heard that?
Yeah, I did hear about that. And I have seen some stuff, and I've seen stuff that was attributed to law enforcement that is absolutely false.
Well, yeah,
that is absolutely speculation. That is
I know.
absolutely wrong.
And we're grateful for y'all being upfront with Alec about that. But,
Yeah, I can't prevent it if either somebody makes a comment to somebody who doesn't have the same.
The other comment that's been extremely troubling, and I'll just tell you that we've talked about it and been concerned about it, is there was a statement from either SLED or from the sheriff's office. I apologize, I'm not being coy. I don't remember which. That there was no reason for the public to be concerned.
Well, that's probably and that might have been poor choice of wording. I'm not going to sit there and second guess. That was from the sheriff's office.
And that all that does.
I was the sheriff of Colleton County for 14 months. I was the interim sheriff during that period.
You know where that makes people's mind go.
I think that's a very common phrase they use to mean we're not actively running behind somebody with a gun right now. That we're going to chase them into your house, or we need to lock the school down or something like that. It's probably not the best choice of words, and unfortunately what happens is people fill in the blanks and say, well, this was obviously some sort of a domestic thing or something like that. I get where you're coming from, and there's things we can control, there's things we have to go back and say, well,
I get it.
The more we harp on this, the worse we're going to make it a thing.
Buster, you got anything else, man? Please, you've been completely forthright. If you've got anything else to tell these folks, let's go ahead and. Anything else you can think of?
No, sir, I'm good.
Buster, is there anything you want to ask us?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we'll step out, I will get the buckle swab thing ready. It's not painful. You ain't got any sores or anything in your mouth, any bites inside of your lip recently, nothing like that.
Yes.
It'll be over very quickly.
Can I go ahead and get out for this?
Yes, sir. What's that?
Highway patrol's on scene on me, but
Yes, sir.
doing all right?
Yes, sir. How about you?
Nice to see you.
Yes, sir. I hate that it's under these circumstances.
I thought I saw you walk by.
Yes, sir. That's me. The red hair gives me
That's
away.
right, that's right.
That's something y'all look for in this family.
That's
We kind of
right.
match. I do.
I'll tell you what, rather than we'll do a written one, is this still on?
It is.
Okay. What I'm going to do as we discussed is I'm just going to get a swab of your inner cheeks for a DNA sample for a buccal swab. As we talked about, you consent to us just taking that? Okay.
And
just for
Mr.
posterity.
Henderson, you're fine with it as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is approximately 3:25 p.m. on June 10th. Now let's get out of the sun.
You're good. Go ahead and you can walk up there. I'm going to shut this door and give y'all some room.
All right, you go open wide. else you can think of? I feel like I've asked you most anything, but again, as you go home and start thinking about this, any bit of information you guys can give us on how to live it. It might help us. Okay. All right. Hands might be a little bit sweaty. Yes,
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phone?
Let me Buster, if you will hold on just one second. One more thing.
Over here. If you want to walk over there, I think it's shadier right there.
But let me ask you one more question. Would you have any objection? Yeah, Dana. Sorry, I wouldn't try to shut you out there.
No problem.
Some of the others have been good enough to give us just dumps of their phones. It's a physical download of the information on their phone that verifies the whereabouts and so forth statements you've given us.
And we may be able to pull some of those Facebook messages that you've gotten to.
My only question is, should Jim allow that to happen with Alex?
My understanding, I can
If that's the
verify.
case, certainly yes, but that would...
Do you want me to ask?
Yeah, let's ask that, please.
That's why I asked.
Because I am out of my element.
I understand.
I'm out of my element. That's why I want to, but if Jim is okay with Alex, and we are absolutely
He
okay.
has this thing
It's
completed.
been okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. I
And what we're
recommend.
trying to do, all
Hey,
that stuff I told you, I've got your phone and all that
I
stuff.
don't do this.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll just need
It's a good way to shut down the ugly people. We have the stuff right here, so we'll be able to do it and get it right back to
You
you.
can download it.
Yes, sir.
And again, you can send us doing a data download of this. We'll do it. We've got a technician right here with us. We'll get it right back to you.
Yes, sir.
Amazing.
What's that?
Passcode.
To the truck. Buster, if I may, y'all need that?
Let me, Jojo.
I just want to make sure I got your pass.
John Marvin and I were talking earlier, and he mentioned that I guess the solicitor was supposed to call me about something to do with the truck keys to.
And I don't know
that white
that you'd already
F-250?
left, but it was Sean and
Y'all asked Buster about Paul's passcode.
No.
Sean's been going
Here.
but Sean
Do you happen to know Paul's passcode to his phone?
I do not.
Okay.
they
If you had to guess.
I couldn't guess. Somebody asked me this the other day, and I thought about it, and I got no understanding of where to go with it.
Okay.
He treated it like
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
I know my mom.
y'all
Yeah.
need a milk.
Do you mind calling the solicitor?
Gotcha.
Okay.
I mean, hell, you don't need to call him. I got the keys.
Well, I don't know if I'm necessarily.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he communicated that to me very
Okay.
well. So,
John, you bring Buster's phone when they finish.
yes, sir, we'll give it to him.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. So we just check a couple of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it'll do is, yeah. Yeah, you take